Hey folks, Nate Skinner here. I just brought home this brand new All Seasons Feeders pellet grill. It's the Sirloin 1080. I'm fixing to pull it out of the box and put it together so I can get to cooking on it. Pretty excited about it. Once you get this thing unwrapped and out of the box, everything you need to put it together is inside the lid. All the components, the legs, the owner's manual, it's all right here. So once you're unwrapped, you open up the lid, you are ready to go. All the hardware you need to put this pit together are located in this grease bucket that comes with the pit. You don't need any extra tools. All Seasons has supplied that for you. All that stuff is right in here. The first step in putting this thing together is attaching the legs. So what you want to do is lay the pit down on its back. You can use the box it comes in to protect it from the concrete or whatever ground you're putting it on so you don't scratch up your pit. Your solid legs, the legs without the wheel, are going to attach on the left end of the grill, and then the legs with the casters, the legs with the wheels, they're going to attach to the right end of the grill. You're going to use the black bolts, nuts, and washers that come with the pit to attach these legs. Alright, so again, you're going to use these black bolts, nuts, and washers to attach the legs to the pit. Alright, so now we've got all 4 legs on. Before we tighten all the hardware down and make everything nice and snug, we're going to go ahead and stand the pit up. You want to do that on a level surface. Make sure everything is lined up right, nice and level. Then you can go ahead and tighten everything up. To go ahead and tighten everything down, you're going to use the open-ended wrench, that's this one, and the Allen wrench, that's this tool, provided with the hardware to make sure all the bolts and nuts are nice and snug on the legs so your pit is nice and stable. Alright, so as you can see, I've got this pit back laying on its back, and there's only 3 legs on it. That's because the next step is to put the bottom storage shelf on after you get the legs on, and the instructions will tell you to go ahead and tighten down all 4 legs and then put the bottom shelf in between the 4 legs into position, and it's really difficult to do with the legs tightened down. What I found is it's easier to just have 3 legs on, get that bottom shelf into position, and then put the 4th leg on, tighten everything up. So I'm going to save you some time here. Don't do what I did and put all 4 legs on, tighten them up, and then try to put the bottom shelf in. Go ahead and only put 3 legs on, leave everything nice and loose where you can get everything lined up the correct way, get that bottom shelf into position, tighten it up, put that 4th leg on, and then stand it up and get everything nice and snug. These are the black bolts that you use to secure the bottom storage shelf with. They're the same bolts that you used to attach the legs. The only difference is you're not pairing them with a nut, you're just pairing them with a washer. So these are the bolts that you use to secure the bottom storage shelf with. Alright, now that we've got the pit stood back up, the bottom shelf is secure, all the legs are tight and snug, everything's real stable. We're going to go ahead and open up the stainless steel door here and attach the stainless steel door handle. Putting this part on is really simple. So you can see, you just take the stainless steel threaded hex stud that comes on each end of the stainless steel door handle, and you put a washer on it and put it through the hole of the door, and the end of the handle mounts flush on the outside. Okay, you can see the other end is exactly the same. We've got a stainless steel hex stud with a washer on it. The end is mounted flush on the outside of the door, and then you can just use the wrench that is provided to go ahead and tighten everything up nice and snug, and then when you're done, your handle looks really, really nice. The next thing you're going to do is attach the stainless steel side handle with these hex studs and washers. So you can see you've got the stainless steel side handle mounted flush on the outside of the pit. And then on the inside you can see the hex studs with the washers. Again, you can use the wrench provided to tighten everything down nice and snug. Alright, now that we've got all our handles on, the pit's starting to come together nicely, we're going to go ahead and install the front shelf. And the first thing you got to do there is install the front shelf brackets. Alright, like I said, to get the front shelf secured to the pit, the first thing you got to do is put on the front shelf brackets. And the easiest thing to do is to go ahead and take the bolts that work for the brackets and put them through the holes of the bracket and then line them up with the bolt holes on the outside of the pit. Screw them in a few revolutions so it hangs on there but it's loose. And then you can take the Allen wrench that's provided. You're going to use the Phillips end of the Allen wrench. Because the bolts for the front shelf bracket have a Phillips head receiver, and you're going to go ahead and tighten those in. Attaching the front shelf is really easy. You basically just lay it right down on the brackets, and you use the same bolts that you did for the brackets. That's the bolt with the Phillips head receiver. And the bolt holes are on the underside, so you just line up the holes and tighten it down. So when your front shelf is attached correctly, you can simply lift up on it at about a 45, pull out a little bit, and it will fold down, gets it out of the way when you're storing the pit, and then when you're ready to use it again, just tilt it back up to that 45, push in a little bit, and it snaps into place. So we're almost ready to start burning pellets in this thing and cooking some awesome food. Next, we got to position the heat baffle inside the pit. Go ahead and put the grease drain pan on. Then all we got to do is slide the grill trays in, and we're ready to rock and roll. So putting the heat baffle on is pretty simple. It's got a notch on either side, and that notch lines up with this locator bracket inside the pit. It goes directly over the fire pot. So you're going to take the heat baffle, put it directly over the fire pot, and line the notches on either side of it up with the brackets inside the pit. It fits there nice and snug, and it's right where it needs to be. So the grease pan slides right in on top of the heat baffle. It's got support brackets. The long lip side of the grease pan fits on the left-hand side of the pit inside the V-shaped grease drain, allowing grease to flow down the grease pan and out the grease drain hole. You can line this pan with aluminum foil, and that'll make it a lot easier to clean later on when you start cooking on it. The grease bucket hangs on a hook right there on the left-hand side of the pit, right under the grease drain, and it catches all your grease. Don't forget about your meat probe. It plugs in here on the unit and then slides right through this hole here to go inside the pit. So you can see your meat probe is there hooked up on the control board of the pit, and it runs through the access hole right there and goes inside the pit. And there it is inside the pit to insert in whatever kind of meat you are cooking to make sure you cook it to the right temperature. Well, that's how to put together your sirloin 1080 in a nutshell. Make sure to refer to the owner's manual for initial firing up and heating instructions before you start cooking food on this bad boy. And get ready to enjoy your brand new all seasons feeders pellet grill.